both our guests here, and then we can get into openers?
Yeah. Quick introduction from both of you guys, and yeah, we can start the introduction, the openers with the affirmative.
I don't care. Move on.
Okay, Hatim, you got anything?
Hey guys, I'm Hatim, also known as Do Dream, aka Hatim the Dream, and I love philosophy. I got into this space a few months ago. I'm really excited. Hours notice. Challenging myself because I know Kayj is cool, is a great arguer, so we'll see what happens. Follow me, and also host lives and debates. So I'm excited.
Okay. And Kate, whenever you're ready, we can start your 3-minute opener since you're the affirmative.
Right, so look, the argument is simply as follows. If determinism is true, free will doesn't exist. And free will, as you see from this debate, clearly does not exist. And then it follows from modus ponens that determinism is true. Now, for ease's sake, I'll go with the most succinct and least controversial definition that I've been able to find within the literature, which is some modal definition that free will is the ability to have acted differently. And what I mean by this is that if we were to wind back the clock in any situation, it would be completely within the realm of possibility for you to have acted differently to the way that you actually did. For instance, it would have been completely possible for me to have given a very pretentious introduction, but instead I didn't. And the choice of the latter was completely within my control. The idea that you are in control of your actions, that any decisions you make are determined by only by your conscious self. But the problem is that this is so flawed and nonsense and overall stupid. Let's begin by considering what would have to be true in order for us to have truly total free will, the ability to have done otherwise, to have acted differently. Well, firstly, we need to be aware that everything that we're doing, and we would need to be aware of everything, is influencing our actions, including environmental factors, our precise mood, the influence of other people, the influence of past experiences, and so many more incalculable variables. Secondly, we need to begin complete control of every one of them. Neither of these are true, nor even possible. So you might concede this, but not think it a problem. Okay, so you say I can't control the factors that led me to the taste of ice cream. But on a more mundane level, I'm still in complete control over whether I choose chocolate or vanilla. Well, let's think about this seriously. I mean, consider the most simplest of choices, chocolate or vanilla. Or if it's easier, consider the last mundane choice you had to walk in the morning, the team's choice to put on a suit, Coco hosting this debate. Think about why you chose or would choose one over the other. What would make me choose vanilla over chocolate? Well, one possible answer, which I'm going to elaborate on, is I would need to want it more than chocolate. In order to choose vanilla, I need to want chocolate. Well, can I control what it is that I want? Well, absolutely not. Consider the fact that you presumably don't want to punch your mother in the face. Could you choose to do that? Now, I'm not saying choosing to do the action, but could you choose to want to cognitively? No more than I could choose to want vanilla over chocolate. I just want it. It's just a simple fact about myself I can't change. Okay, well, let's go further. I can't choose to want vanilla over chocolate when I really want chocolate. But what if I just decided, in the full knowledge that I would prefer chocolate, to go for vanilla anyways, just for the sake of regaining my free will and nothing else? Well, I'm afraid you'd still face the same problem, the exact same problem. In fact, in order to do that, you need to regain your free. You want to regain your free will, but why is your desire to prove a point like this stronger than the desire to have ice cream you prefer? Let's take it away. You cannot determine your wants. Think of something you want. Try not to want it. Think of something you don't want. Try to want it. It's not possible. Even if it were, in order to change a don't want into a want, you need to want it, and vice versa. To change a want into a don't want, you need to want to not want it. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. But in fact, it's possible. It's impossible for you to do anything for any reason other
Your
than one
time
of
is
these
up.
two.
Wrap it up.
There are two reasons. Simply put, you either do something because you want to do it or because you're forced to do it. And neither of those lead to any sort of free will, as I've defined.
Okay, that will conclude Cage's opening statement. Hatim, whenever you're ready, we can start your 3-minute opening statement.
Give me 1 second, please. Just need like 15 seconds.
Okay, we can wait for you.
In the interim, guys, while we're discussing, feel free to tap the screen, um, follow the debaters. Yeah.
And send any gifts. All gifts are appreciated, and it helps the debaters to do these kinds of things for a living and fund any projects that they're doing in their personal life. So we appreciate the likes.
Don't
Follow
send
both
me anything.
debates.
Donate it to charity,
And Cage wants you guys to donate your money to charity. So
particularly mental health for men.
particularly mental health for men. So guys, look that up and donate to that charity online. I'm pretty sure you can find it online. Hatim, you ready?
Yes. All right, ready? Here we go. Hello. I would like to remind everybody of the debate prompt that at least I was given, and I'm sure I hope Kayj was given. The debate prompt was determinism is true. And so Kayj was arguing for affirmation, and I was arguing in opposition. To affirm that determinism is true, my opponent must demonstrate.
Wait, pause real quick. Your mic had muted, Hatim.
Hatim, you're muted. Hatim. Did any mods mute him?
I don't think so.
Hatim? Yo.
Oh, sorry, you were muted.
Yeah, I had a phone call about scam callers. And Indians need to stop. All right, can I restart?
Yeah, we can restart your entire opening statement, and you can go again. Try turning your phone on to Do Not Disturb.
All right, I'll do that right now.
Good to go?
I'll do it this way. Yeah. Hold on. Let me put a timer for myself for my.
I'm timing it, so like either way.
It helps for me to know when as well. All right. I'm ready. All right.
Go ahead.
So the debate prompt is determinism is true. So Kayj needed to show how determinism was true in all cases, rather than showing how alternative hypotheses is false. So even if a single alternative alternative hypothesis is possible or plausible, then Kayj needs to meet their burden of proof. Showing that determinism is consistent with some observations is not enough, because no one will deny that determinism is possible. The argument isn't that the claim isn't that determinism is possible, but rather that it's true. So not just possible, but is the case. So the affirmation requires conclusive evidence that determinism applies universally. Here's why I think that burden cannot be met. Quantum mechanics contradicts determinism. At the quantum level, events such as radioactive decay or the behavior of particles in superposition are fundamentally probabilistic, not deterministic. For instance, in a double slit experiment, particles like electrons or photons exhibit a range of possible outcomes when passing through the slits governed by a probabilistic wave function. The specific outcome is not determined until measurement occurs. Radioactive decay is another example. An atom's decay is governed only by probabilities with no deterministic cause dictating when it will occur. These are not merely gaps in our knowledge, such what determinism would like to claim, that if we knew everything about a certain state that we would know necessarily the future state, but rather this is just a fundamental reality of the thing itself. It's just probabilistic in its system that we do know everything, but we still do not know the next state, the next outcome. Determinism fails because it cannot account for this intrinsic uncertainty. Alternative interpretations fail to save determinism. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics attempt to maintain determinism, but none succeed to proving it. The many worlds interpretation suggests that every quantum event results in a branching universe where all possible outcomes occur. While technically deterministic, this introduces metaphysical complexity and makes determinism unprovable in practice. Bohemian mechanics relies on hidden variables to preserve determinism, but requires non-locality, which contradicts relativity. This interpretation lacks empirical support and is not the dominant view among physicists. These alternatives do not conclusively prove determinism. They merely suggest speculative possibilities which are insufficient to affirm the resolution. Given the experimental evidence for probabilistic processes in quantum mechanics, the speculative nature of deterministic interpretations, and the lack of conclusive proof for universal causation, there's no sufficient reason to accept determinism as true, but merely only as possible or plausible. Thank you.
Okay, you finished right on time. So both opening statements are finished, so we can now start the cross-examination. Kayj, you'll be doing yours first, and it's going to be 5 minutes. Just tell me when to start.
I'm sorry, am I crossing him?
Yeah, you're cross-examining him.
Okay, you mentioned Bohm and Everett. You understand that a stipulation within their theories is that if you could have a perfectly precise methodology to measure everything in the Bohm interpretation, then you could predict everything perfectly. And in the Everett prediction, the one with many worlds, you could predict you could predict exactly what weights each world will end up with and how the whole system evolves, but you would need to know everything for that, and we don't. We're still very new into quantum mechanics. This is equivalent of saying
I
that there
agree.
might be some Newtonian law that would violate the previous ones, but we just don't know it yet, or we're just so new into it. I'm not sure how this supports my argument. Nor just to be clear, the reason why I said determinism is true is from the direct conclusion of determinism. If P, then Q, Q therefore P. That's modus ponens. That's how determinism is true.
Sure. What I'm saying is determinism, the way I'm defining determinism is that, my understanding of determinism is that every
Why are you
event,
defining it? This is my affirmative position. You should take what I mean by these words and hold them as an internal critique. Why are you redefining it such that it fits your narrative?
because number one, the debate preparation happens prior to your
Yeah, the
affirmation.
prompt is determinism true, Hatim? And I said
I'm going, I'm going,
determinism is if determinism is
going to,
true, then there is no free will. And I supported my argument that there being
sure,
no free
okay.
will. So deductively it would follow that determinism is true. Your opening statement did nothing to refute me. It
Determinism
obfuscated on the point,
is
and it
determinism.
included interpretations of quantum mechanics that
I'm
were
confused.
frankly
Are you asking
impotent
me
in.
questions, or are you asking me questions, interrupting me in the middle of me asking me
Well, because
questions?
this is my time to cross you. You
No,
should be quiet.
yeah, crossing me. Okay, when you ask a question, do you want me to answer or no? That's my question.
Yes, when I ask you a direct question, you ready?
Yeah, you did.
In
Did you
my
want me
opening
to answer the
statement, you
question you
did
asked?
nothing to refute my
I wasn't.
argument.
Yeah, because you're interrupting in the middle of mid sentence. Did you want me to
Okay,
repeat?
go on.
Okay, thank
Go.
you.
How
So,
did your opening statement refute my argument? That's my question.
because I showed how you didn't demonstrate determinism as true, but rather as plausible, because I
I'm
believe
sorry. Is modus ponens a deductive argumentation inference?
is modus ponens a deductive argumentation inference. Yes,
Yep. Is modus ponens deductive, not abductive?
I said deductive.
Right. So why in the flying fuck are you mentioning plausibility in your refutation of my deduction?
Yeah, I'm saying that your deduction is false
Ow. You didn't
because
mention any of that in your opening statement,
okay,
nor did you bring
I'm
up
saying it's
anything I spoke
unsound. I'm
about.
saying it's unsound. I'm saying it's
Give the argument.
you're saying I gave the argument. What I'm saying is just because you're saying the conclusion that you want to make is determinism is true, it doesn't mean that you've considered like other plausible interpretations which directly contradict determinism. Such, for example,
I
indeterminism.
reclaim my time. Are you just saying that there are other free will ideas that I could accept, but I haven't included in my debate about is determinism true?
No, I say that you're not including indeterminism. That has
Yeah,
nothing to do with
because that's not the debate prompt. Of course, a hard indeterminist could argue that there's no free will as well. However, it's a conclusion of both arguments that free will does not exist.
the
Now,
debate
my
prompt.
argument
Does
was that
free
if
will
free will
exist?
exists, then determinism is false. You've done nothing to refute my simplistic argument. I'd
How am
like
I
to hear a
arguing for free
refutation.
will? My burden is not is proving free will. My
You
burden is
understand that my argument was if determinism is true, then free will does not exist. And
yeah, but
if
I'm
P
not
then
arguing.
Q, I affirmed the consequent and
I agree
supported
free
it.
will doesn't exist. It's fine that free will doesn't
Wait,
exist.
if you wait. If you agree free will doesn't exist, then it necessarily follows that determinism is true given my argument.
No, given your argument, just because one thing is false, it doesn't mean that the opposite is true. For example,
Wait, that's
just because
exactly what modus ponens means. I'm
no,
sorry. If I
okay.
write it out
Well,
like this,
let's
Hatim,
clarify then. Let's
no, I'm
clarify
going to
then. Let's
reclaim my
clarify then.
time.
Let's
I'm going to
clarify
ask
then.
you a
Let's
more
clarify.
simplistic question. If I
Before
say
you
if P
finish.
then Q and I prove Q, does that necessarily mean P is true?
Yes, but that's only if it's true that it is only P, therefore Q.
I'm sorry, was my argument P, if P, then Q?
Yes, but I'm saying it's not only P then Q because it is possible that indeterminism is true. That contradicts determinism.
Oh, so you're asking me for a secondary argument.
No, I'm saying that you haven't demonstrated the truth of determinism just by demonstrating that free will is false, because other interpretations that deny free will exist, such as indeterminism, which doesn't include determinism. You have to demonstrate determinism is true, not free will is false.
The time is up, so I'll stop it there. Hatim, it is now your 5-minute cross-examination. You can start anytime that you're ready.
All right. So do you think determinism and indeterminism are compatible?
No, they're quite literally antithetical.
Okay. If indeterminism and determinism are antithetical, then would you agree that if there's at least one thing that's possible for it to be indeterminate, then determinism would be false?
No,
Okay. Why not?
because that would be to beg the question that determinism is false.
Wait, how is it begging the question that if it is true that it's possible for one thing? Oh, my bad. Not. Let me rephrase the question. Would you agree that if it's possible for something that's inconclusive, for it to have the explanation that it was indeterminate, that you haven't met your burden, that determinism is true, which would mean that everything has been caused?
No, inconclusive does not necessarily mean indeterminate. Inconclusive can mean
I
actually lend to the determinist thesis that we don't have enough knowledge of the
I
variables.
didn't say indeterminate leads to I didn't say inconclusive leads to indeterminates. Maybe you're not tracking. What I'm saying is it's inconclusive as to whether or not it's determined or indeterminate. So if something is inconclusive as to whether or not it is A or B, it doesn't make sense for you to say that it's B and or A, right? It doesn't make sense for you to choose a side. You have to be agnostic on the issue.
I don't know why you're adding a disjunct. I take the law of bivalence to be true, meaning one of those thesi must be true. I don't know why you're including some non-bivalent thesis that either of them could not be true. When you asked me a direct question and I answered, they're antithetical.
Okay, my thing is,
Are you
I'm not,
contradicting the
you're
law
not
of
listening.
bivalence?
Maybe it's either I'm not speaking as accurately as I could in the way that you want, or maybe you're not tracking. Either one,
It's the latter.
I'll rephrase. That's fine. It's okay. What I'm trying to say is, you given some fundamental principle about quantum mechanics, it's
Which
possible.
one?
I'm not sure what any event.
You're not sure?
Just put X. Given some
Okay,
event.
can we substitute the Bohm
Okay,
interpretation that
it's my
supports
turn.
my thesis?
It's my time. You don't interrupt me during my questioning. I'm sorry. It's my time. So, given some event X, it's possible that it was indeterminate, as in non uncaused, or determined, as in caused. Now, if you're not sure about the event past or whether or not it's caused, right? Then you can't say determinism is true on this specific event, because determinism would encapsulate everything. You'd have to also know that for that particular event, that determinism is true. But since it's possible that it's uncaused, that it's possible that determinism is not true, since determinism would not be present in this case. In order for determinism to be true, it would have to be the
What's
case
the
that,
question you're asking me?
first of all, I'm not sure if you were here during the past debate, but in my cross-ex, I can talk and or ask questions.
I know you
Right
can
now, I'm
talk,
just
I can hear
talking.
you.
And at the end of me talking, you don't interrupt me until I'm done talking, then I will ask you a question. So stop interrupting my flow of thought, please. And like I was saying, that for determinism to be true and for affirmation to win the debate, they must demonstrate, not just offer an explanation, a just so story, that every event is determined, as in it has a cause. Now, it is logically possible that things could be uncaused. Now, until Kayj demonstrates that uncaused things are impossible, then we don't have enough sufficient evidence to believe determinism is true. Go ahead. What is your response to that, nihilism?
Yeah, you're asking me for an argument for the principle of sufficient reason. I'd like to make clear that just because it's unclear or ambiguous as to which thesis is true doesn't lend that mine is false. It requires
Well,
further
say
work.
that.
So are you asking me for an argument for the hard PSR,
I
meaning
didn't know.
everything has a sufficient reason for a cause to occur? Or
What I
everything
asked,
has a sufficient reason that may or may not be the cause for it to
okay,
occur?
Kayj, do you think I've said that determinism is false? Have I made that argument?
No, you've not reached your burden in the slightest, I agree.
No, my burden isn't to demonstrate determinism as false. And in a debate, all the opposition needs to do is, at the very least, put doubt to not believe in the affirmation. And if you're uncertain who won the debate, opposition has done their job, because affirmations job is to show that they're right without like any like with like more likely than not. And so opposition is like, I can go for either or. That means if you have that mindset, opposition won. If they put doubt in your mind that bad.
Right, so we understand that the way I've cashed out determinism, right from my definition of free will, is just that there's simply the belief that for every state of affairs Q, there's
Actually,
some preceding state
I
of
end my
affairs
time
P.
right now. I can end my
Oh,
time.
all right, you didn't ask me a question. You wasted and obfuscated. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, time
Yeah.
is up for that section. Kayj, you'll be starting your second and last cross-examination. You can start anytime.
Right, so my opponent is A, clearly dumb as fuck and confused, right? He's asking me dumb questions as if there are no sufficient reasons for things occurring. Like when he wakes up in the morning after setting his coffee pot at night, when he touches the coffee pot, he's acting surprised as if it's hot, right? I don't know if these people should be taken seriously in society, but irrespective of that, onto the substance, determinism as the belief within my framework here has been that for every state of affairs Q, there's a preceding belief, or there's a preceding state of affairs P, which was brought out about Q by some causal necessity. So Hatim asking me that if there's some possible state of affairs that was not brought about by some preceding state of affairs P is just to beg the question that it's false. He has to do further work to argue against it. Unfortunately, he hasn't done that work, nor can he do that work. In his next defense, he's going to mention more quantum mechanics that are in support of me, like the Bohm interpretation or the Everett one, which do support my thesis, given they can plug in variables that which they know. Now, my question for you is, can you give me an argument, a team, against causal necessity, or do you want to obfuscate?
When you say causal necessity, my argument, I'm not saying that none of my arguments I've ever stated is to prove determinism false. As I've clarified and framed my position is that it's not enough evidence to say determinism is true. That doesn't mean determinism is false. The same way in a
Do
lot
you
of
think I've not provided argumentation thus far for the thesis?
the same way that in a lot of philosophy
Yeah, I
religion.
reclaim my time. You're either going to answer my question or stay
I'm
silent. Do you think
literally
I've
in the
not
middle of
provided
answering.
argumentation as to how determinism is true?
I'm literally in the middle of answering. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Do you think I've not provided argumentation for the thesis determinism is true given the entailments using basic mode exponents?
I agree that you gave arguments. I don't think your
Great. Do
arguments.
you agree that your refutations have been piss poor at best?
No, I disagree.
So how is begging the question as to raise, or begging the question whether causal necessity is true or not, just asking that question at all reaching your burden? You can ask the question all day, but how have you meet your burden? You're just asking questions.
When did I beg the question?
Yeah, you said, well, Cage, if it's possible that some state of affairs Q wasn't precedent by state of affairs P, then determinism would obviously be false. That's trivial because determinism is the belief that Q or P is some state of or Q is some state of affairs brought about by some preceding state of affairs
Let, let,
P
let me
by
clarify.
causal necessity. That's how you're begging the
Let
question,
me
moron.
clarify. Let me clarify. I actually misspoke there when I said false. What I meant to say is you haven't demonstrated your burden of proof that determinism is true, not that it's false. Yeah.
Did I present a modus ponens argument that concluded determinism is true?
Yes, you've provided an argument, but
Great, I've
since
done that. Great, refute it.
yeah,
Do
I
any work here.
refuted it. I refuted it just because. Okay,
Which premise did you refute?
I didn't hear any like formal premises. Can you list the
Oh,
premises?
P1, if determinism is true, then free will does not exist. Free will does not exist, therefore determinism is true.
Yeah, I deny that if determinism or if free will is false, then determinism is true. I deny that.
You deny that if free will does not exist, then determinism is true?
Yeah, because indeterminants can be true even if free will is false.
What's the argument for indeterminacy or
Yeah,
causal indeterminants?
Well, the argument for indeterminacy is that it's possible that things are uncaused, such as at the
That's not their
quantum level.
thesis.
I'm sorry.
That's not their thesis. They hold that that
Who's
some
there?
states of affairs are that have no precedent state. T.
Who's there?
Who? Like some
Who's
causal
there?
indeterminists?
Yeah, okay. So I'm sure there are multiple interpretations of indeterminism.
Yeah, so let's not bring up tertiary views that don't actually go to be
Oh my
antithetical to
bad.
my view.
I'm not supposed to give my own tertiary, my own view. My bad. Go ahead. Go ahead. Cite the argument for me, and then I can debate it. Go ahead.
You want me to do your work for you?
Apparently, you know it better than I do. You're not allowing
I
me.
do know it better than you
Yeah,
do,
of
but
course. Go ahead.
unfortunately, I'm not your being. That's
Yeah, I'm not allowed
your
to give my own
burden.
interpretation and argument for what I understand interdeterminacy to be. You know
Not
it.
if you're
Go ahead.
not if you're redefining the entire free will. No.
Not if I redefining entire free will.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't be antithetical. They wouldn't be mutually
I didn't
exclusive.
define free will. What are you talking about? When did I define free
Because you just said that indeterminate free will is the view
will? No,
that
I
it's
didn't say.
possible some events aren't
I
caused.
didn't
That's
say
not the
free will.
view. The
I didn't.
view,
Guys, I hope you have this recorded. I didn't even utter the words free will. This guy must be deaf.
you look stupid right now, but look, all
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said
I'm
was
in
that
shock.
you said indeterminacy posits that it's possible these things have no
Finish up
cause.
your
That's
sentence.
not their
That's the
claim.
end.
Their claim is that
Indeterminate.
they
Wait,
do
wait.
have no cause.
I'm not
Okay, that's the
saying
end,
free
guys. We're
will.
cutting it off. We're going into Hatim's cross-examination. It's your turn to control the
Wait, it's
moment.
2 rounds?
Yeah, you'll be concluding the second round of cross-examination. So
Oh,
go
so
ahead.
this is the last cross X?
Yeah, and it's your turn.
It's the last cross X, my turn, and then after that is conclusion?
Yeah. So you're asking the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what I just want to reiterate, guys, that the debate prompt was determinism is true. Now, if I have given you enough doubt for you to decide whether or not determinism is actually true, meaning it is the case that it exists everywhere, and there isn't a possibility for indeterminism to be true. Now, determinism is that everything has a cause, or if you know everything in a state, you would know every possible future state from that state. Now, it's possible that even if you know everything about a current state, that it's still the case that probability would be impacted. It would be intrinsic to that system where you still do not know what would happen with certainty in terms of one outcome. With determinism being true, it means that there is only one outcome if you know everything about the current state of affairs. From knowledge of current state of affairs, knowing 100% theoretically in principle, you would know the next one. And there can only be one from the next one. It will always be the case from these exact same.
Wait, that's not true. That's predeterminism, moron.
Okay, what would be the difference where? So you're saying so you're saying in your deterministic model.
Yeah, it's necessary that every cause has an effect, not that every cause has a specific effect, stupid.
Hold on. Wait, are you saying that from the same information, different things could occur?
No, I'm saying that from a set of causes, things could occur, not the same thing necessarily.
Wait, wow.
That's predeterminism or
You're not
fatalism, depending on
okay.
how
So
extreme you go.
the question I asked was, are you of the belief that
No, I'm a determinist, not a predeterminist.
so you know the next words out of my mouth? Just calm
Were
down
you
and
going to
wait
ask a different question?
yeah, because you didn't even answer the question I just asked because maybe
Oh,
you
my
mishearing things this
apologies.
whole
Go ahead.
debate.
Go ahead. I'm
You're
sorry, you weren't
mishearing
going to
things this
ask me
whole
about
debate. I just want you to
predeterminism.
calm down. So if are you of the belief that from the same knowledge and facts of one state that multiple possible states could occur?
No, from one specific cause, another set of specific effects, not necessary, not necess. My God, I can never pronounce this word. Not Spinoza's necessitarianism. I'm more of a Leibniz guy. I don't need to hold to the strong PSR, Hatim. I can hold to the weak PSR as well. You're assuming predeterminism.
No,
You
no.
are fallacious in your reasoning, or you
I'm
can't
asking a
read.
question. I'm asking a question. So you are saying that multiple possible things could occur from a
Yes,
certain.
I hold to the weak PSR that Leibniz holds to, that every single scientist holds to. Yes.
Well, that's just okay. That's just compatible with my understanding of indeterminism because indeterminism states that even if you know everything about the current state of affairs, you don't know the next state of affairs, and that there are multiple
Is
possible.
that what I said?
Yes,
No, I said Leibniz law. Do you know what the exact
I'm saying.
monosyllabic notation of
Okay,
Leibniz law is?
I'm not. You're confusing me a bit because it seems like what you're. Okay, it determinism is that everything has a. We could skip that. We could just skip that.
No, we're not going to skip you
If you can skip
redefining the
that, it's fine.
debate, Hatim.
I can literally, it's fine because it's at the
You
end.
didn't
So
even understand the debate
it's
prompt
fine.
yet
That's why
again
I'm skipping it because I don't want to rehash the whole debate in the end.
because you're confused.
It's
You don't even
fine.
know what you're talking
Brother,
about.
you need to calm down. I don't know what the voices in your head are saying to you right now, but tell them to calm down too.
And not knowing doesn't necessitate
Please calm
indeterminism either.
down. Please calm down. Just calm down, brother. All I'm trying to say is no. Kayj has not specified at all in this debate. This is the first time he specified hard and weak, whatever. Now, second, that's just we just throw that away.
Hard and weak what?
Determinism, obviously. Now,
PSR, stupid, not determinism. The hard or weak PSR.
okay,
Principle of sufficient reason. I'm
okay,
not a Spinozian.
okay. It's a bit unclear what you mean by
You look
determinism
good
right
in a
now.
suit, Hatim. It's
Calm
about the
down.
only
Just
thing you
calm
look good
down.
doing.
I just need to calm. I just need you to calm down, please. So what I'm trying to say is, the most important part is that think about uncaused things. If it's possible that things are uncaused, or if it's
You're
possible
begging
that
the question again.
Hey, 1 second. Nihilist, please just refrain from interrupting when he's speaking.
I don't know what's going on with you. I'm not begging a question because I'm not making an argument that is invalid or that the conclusion is in my premises. All I'm saying is it is possible that
Time
things.
is up. Finish your last sentence.
Yeah, it is possible. If it is possible that things are uncaused, and determinism says that everything is caused. So if you think that it's possible, and he hasn't met the burden of proof to demonstrate uncaused things are impossible, then then you would just vote for the opposition, and it's simple as that. Kayj just fails to meet his burden.
Okay. And with that, we are moving to the conclusions. Kayj, you're the affirmative, so you're going to have a 2-minute closer. Just tell me when you want to start.
All right, so let's just go over this debate. I gave him a modus ponens simplistic argument for determinism. He didn't even understand how that was an argument for determinism being true when the conclusion was literally determinism is true. Second off, he's making this weird distinction that I need to hold to some strong principle of sufficient reason, which is not necessary to be a determinist. Not once during this debate have I espoused any particular form of determinism. My burden is to show that determinism is true. I did that arguing against free will, which he hasn't even mentioned, which shows so is either poor comprehension or poor listening skills. More so, let's get to the point. The difference between a Spinozian and somebody who follows Leibniz law is that they don't think that it's necessary that for state A, state B follows necessarily. That's not what I'm positing, nor did I ever posit that. The reason I didn't talk about it is because you didn't ask, Hatim. You haven't asked any substantive questions. During both of your refutations, you ranted. Now, more to the point, my conclusion or my argument for determinism being true does leave it possible that indeterminacy is true. However, Hatim asking that indeterminate free will is the thesis that it's possible that some events have no cause or uh, don't conform to any sufficient reason is just to beg the question and not formulate any argument. It's just to say to the determinist, me, that yeah, Kayj, I think you're wrong that for every state of affairs P or Q, it has some precedent state of affairs P. I think that's wrong because it's possible that there, but you're not making an argument to show the modal scope of that. Not only has the team not provided any refutation of argumentation, the argumentation he did give, he didn't even understand I was talking about determinism. He thought I was talking about predeterminism or something closer to fatalism. He's confused, isn't well read, didn't refute any of my arguments, and I think that anybody who has more than 5 seconds of listening comprehension would understand that he didn't understand the simplistic debate prompt. I concede my time to the guy wearing a fucking red tie.
Okay. Hatim, it is now your time for your 2-minute conclusion. Tell me when to start.
Yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of argument from incredulity coming from nihilism, Kayj, because just because free will is false doesn't mean determinism is true, which is his main arguments. So if I can show, if as I've shown you that just because A is false doesn't mean it's that B is true. Even if you say, well, B has to be true as A is false. Just because he said free will is if free will is false, then determinism is true. Doesn't mean he's right when he demonstrates free will being false. Doesn't mean you have to believe that determinism is true. You have to ask the question, well, what about other things other than determinism, right? Because determinism and free will aren't the only two things that exist, right? It's indeterminism that also exists. Now, when I brought up my understanding, or one of the arguments where I said if you know and have all the knowledge of one state of affairs, that then you would know the next state of affairs. That it's possible that if you know all the state of affairs in one thing, and you don't know the one certain thing of the next state of affairs, then that's what indeterminism is. And he said earlier, he admitted to you guys, right, that indeterminism and determinism were incompatible. That means if I can show one thing is possible to be indeterminism, right, where he doesn't have an answer for other than a just so story from determinism, he has to admit that he hasn't met his burden of proof. You have to see that. So in my conclusion, what I want to say is very simple. Has he said enough to show you guys determinism is actual? Not determinism is, not that determinism is the plausible explanation, but is the only actual explanation. Because if determinism is true, then it exists everywhere, right? Everything has a cause. It's not enough that somebody says, God made me this way, God
Finish your last sentence.
took my thing. They have to show you how God is actual, not just it's an explanation. And if the indeterminacy is plausible, then I've met my burden. And it's pretty easy that I won.
Okay, guys, that would conclude the debate. Round of
Yeah,
applause.
let them know to vote.
Yeah, and everybody, there's a blue clipboard right here above my finger. Vote there to
I
determine.
don't care who won. Go donate your money to charity, guys. Go do something positive. Go fucking live in the world. Life is short. Check up on your friends. You don't know how they're doing mentally health wise. If you have the capacity to do something great, go fucking do it. Get your life off TikTok. Start doing something positive. Nobody fucking cares about a debate.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a pretty good message that I agree with for the most part. Fair enough. Any last words, Hatim? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, man. Great debate. In 20 minutes of prep, bro, it was crazy. Yeah. Good job, guys, though. Great hosts.
Everybody go drop the team a follow, man. We appreciate you for coming up on the show.
Kayj is sharp. It was a challenge. I actually admire Kayj. He taught me a bunch of stuff, so no ill will on Kayj, but I understand his voices in his head make him like do things. So I don't give him too hard of a time, chat. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Yep. We appreciate you too.
What you think about that, Coco?
I think that debate was pretty cool. A bit funny at times, but like pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. Our next debate, of course, is going to be AR and wisdom. Let's try to get them in the live.